When I first started learning photography, I shot everything at f1.8. You couldn't stop me. There was shallow depth of field coming out the wazoo. But what I didn't realize then was that I was using it as a crutch to create depth. Then one day, I started to learn cinematography. And that's where it all kind of clicked. See, the difference between a normal video and a cinematic one is the cinematic one feels real and immersive. And a big bloody reason of that is depth. But if you watch any proper good movie, you'll notice that most of the time, that depth isn't coming from a super shallow depth of field. It's coming from somewhere else. But you might be thinking, Terry, why are you talking about movies? This video's about photography. Well, first of all, my name is Max. And second of all, cinematography and photography have a hell of a lot to do with one another. And I'll tell you for why. Depth. What does that shit mean? In short, it kind of means that something looks and feels three-dimensional, which is why people rely on shallow depth of field so much, because it separates the subject from the background and makes it feel more 3D. And hey, there are times to use f1.8, but this first thing that I'm going to tell you about is one of the most important things in cinematography, photography, and even painting. And what I'm talking about is layers of light. If you watch nearly any movie, you'll notice that most people's faces are like 2/3 light and 1/3 shadow. Layers of light are nearly always a priority over shallow depth of field. And this isn't an accident. It's about creating real immersive depth. And I'll show you exactly how it works with this photo I took quite a while ago. Here you can see the closest part of the subject is in shadow, then there's light, then there's shadow again, then there's light again. Then we've got the ambient light of the background. So there's like 5 layers of light which come together to make this photo feel three-dimensional. My aperture was probably like f4 or f5.6, I don't know. But it doesn't even matter. If this was f22, this would still have a shitload of depth because of those layers of light. And then you can even look at me right now. I'm lit relatively simply because I'm just doing a YouTube video and I'm looking straight on at you, but still, I've got a light coming in from here. It lights my face about 2/3 to 1/2. And then the other side of my face is in shade. And then there's kind of bits of shade in the background and a light in the background as well. And there's also another light directly behind me. This creates layers of light. So even earlier on when I was messing around with depth of field, which you may or may not have noticed, it still maintained the depth because of the light. I'm not shooting at f1.8 or whatever right now. I'm shooting at like f5. And it might kind of sound like this only works with people, but in its simplest form, it basically works with anything. Whatever it is, if you can create layers of light, then you can create depth. Just look at this water bottle in San Francisco. At least I assume it's water. It could be pure vodka that some tech dude was taking for his morning walk while he contemplates what his AI company might do to the world. Anyway, the brightness of the sunlight that's flooding the bottle completely separates it from the background. There's actually light and shadow in the bottle. The shadow in the background and light again with the sun. 4 layers making a simple bottle of tech guru's tears feel three-dimensional. If you want to get these kinds of layers of light in your everyday photography, then you want to think about the positioning of your subject and the positioning of your light source, which is probably the sun. It's easier in the morning or the evening because the sun has like this kind of direction, so it's more likely to create obvious layers. But what matters most is making sure that some of your subject at least is in shadow. They could be backlit, so most of their face is actually completely shaded and there's this kind of like a rim light behind them. They could be side lit like I kind of am. There's loads of different ways to actually create this depth, but the key is shadow and light. And remember, It doesn't matter if your subject is a person or a packet of sour cream Pringles. Depth is depth. So that's layers of light, and now you've seen it, you're not going to stop seeing it. But that's not the only way to create depth. I've got some crazy good ways, but first I want to talk about today's sponsor, DxO, and specifically I want to talk about Photolab 9, which is essentially like Lightroom or Capture One, except you pay for it once rather than monthly. But it's not just editing software that DxO has to offer. They also recently released something called Film Pack 8, which I keep coming back to and I genuinely think is really good. It's basically a ton of presets from all different kinds of film stocks. But the really cool thing is that once you've put the preset in there, you can tweak them, and it means you can genuinely achieve a film look even when you shoot it digitally. DxO is really refreshing when nearly everything is a subscription model these days. So if you want to try DxO out, then go and click the link in the description and use the code maxkenttt15 at checkout to get 15% off. But anyway, let's get back to it. And I want to talk about a different kind of layers. And I'm not talking about your little long johns under your Carhartt jeans on a cold January morning. I'm talking about something pretty simple. Foreground, midground, and background. And I think this is demonstrated pretty perfectly in this photo I took in Sorrento. Here, it's midday. I've just finished off my 4th Aperol Spritz, and as you can tell, there's a lot less shadow because of the harsh midday sun. Instead, what we definitely do have is a very clear foreground with the harbour and the people in the car. We've got a midground with the sea, and a background with big boy Mount Vesuvius. If you're struggling to create depth, then ask yourself, do I have this foreground, midground, and background? Or do I have a foreground and midground? Obviously, it depends on what kind of space you're in. If you don't have these basics down, then you might have a frown. But this leads me on to a very different way of creating depth using the foreground. And this is about framing or using the foreground to create depth. See here, I went and took an outrageously stereotypical photo of the Golden Gate Bridge. But you know, when in San Francisco. But anyway, what this photo demonstrates is that you can use a foreground to frame your subject, and that can create more depth. You can see this again with this photo out in the desert. By including the window frame and the top of the curtain, it puts you inside the house. It's not just a photograph of a landscape, there's some more context to the photo, and it feels like you're looking through the window. But you can also use your foreground in a slightly different way, not just as a frame, but as a kind of out of focus part of the bottom of your image or the side of your image or whatever. This is something that I used to use all the time. I really love this kind of look and feel. It can feel a bit confusing sometimes. It also just adds a ton of depth. So let's say you're looking over a bridge. You can use the wall of that bridge and it almost frames your subject. Let's say your subject's in the water. I've got these pictures from Venice where I'm doing just that. Or you could use the wall, so you're kind of using that negative space. So you've got wall on the left portion of your frame or something like that, and then your subject's right there. It frames them, it singles them out, but it also creates depth. So there you have it. For me, those are the cornerstones of depth in photography. Light is pretty much the most important thing. Then maybe a bit down the line, shallow depth of field. But the likes of Steven Spielberg, for instance, rarely, if ever, used shallow depth of field at all. And no one would say that his movies weren't cinematic. Basically, don't spam shallow depth of field. Just because you know how to use it, it shouldn't be your one-stop shop for depth. So there you go. Hopefully, you've learned a lot about layers of light there and a few other ways of creating depth in photography. I hope you found it useful. And of course, if you're really interested, go and check out DxO. I actually really like them, and that's why they're sponsoring the video. Oh yeah, by the way, at the end of last month, me and my girlfriend went away for my girlfriend's 30th birthday. Happy birthday, Katie. She's still celebrating it like a month on. And we went to a little town in Wales and went to like a little shop and got talking to the guy there. And over a little bit of time of chatting, he realized that he recognized me from watching my videos on YouTube, which was crazy. This dude was called Vern, very nice guy. Before he left, he gave me one of his camera straps. Where is it? This is really nice. I don't use camera straps that much, but I do sometimes, and I really like this one. It's actually really well put together, and I really like it. He just has a little local business, so I wanted to give him a shout out. I don't think there's any expectation of that or anything like that. But I was really grateful. He was a really sound guy. If you want to give those guys some love, I think they're called Wild Bark, and I'm going to leave a link in the description as well, because he was a cool guy, and it's nice. Like, it's nice meeting people, real people that watch my videos. So cheers, Vern. And also thanks a lot to everyone that watches. By the end of this year, there's probably going to be like 35,000, 36,000 subscribers. I had aimed to get more, but I moved house in August, and I can't believe how much time that's actually taken up. It's just meant that I couldn't do as much as I was doing before, and that's just life. But I just want to say thank you to every single one of you. If it wasn't for you guys, this wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't be able to make these videos that I really enjoy making, because I wouldn't have any money. So you're contributing to me being a little less broke, and hopefully I'm contributing to you enjoying photography a bit more, feeling like you've got a little friend that makes videos for you. Now anyway, go out, sink some pints, do a backflip, take some photos, enjoy yourself, and I'll see you next time.